Hey everybody, it's Kyle from Bolton e-bikes and I'm back for another video. I apologize for the long break. For 2020, we're gonna make sure these videos come out a little bit more consistently and reliably. And I've got a bunch of other exciting things planned, but I'm not gonna tell you about those yet. Because we're here to focus on the Rattan Challenger, which is an electric mountain bike. It's a 350 watt motor, 36 volt battery, and it's kind of what I would consider a budget model because they start at $999. There's a couple different variations of this one at $999, one at $1199. So that just gives you an idea of what we're getting into before we jump into the specifics. Now I know I use kind of 9 different points to rate e-bikes for most of the reviews, and we're going to do things a little bit differently because there's one that really stands out, and we need to find out if it's true or not. And the number one thing on the list, the number one thing people want to know is usually the range. Now for this bike with a 350 watt motor, you can see there's the little geared hub motor right there, and with a 36 volt 10.4 amp hour battery, normally we wouldn't expect a lot of range out of something like that. But they claim that you can get 50 miles on throttle only and 80 miles using pedal assist. So that's why I am out here instead of at the shop, because what I'm going to do is take this for a long ride and drain the battery all the way down and see how far we can actually get. So we have a nice flat stretch of road here, and this is about half a mile from one end to the other to give you some context. It's paved, so we're not having to deal with the gravel or any of those variables. And then because the range is basically, it's due to the patented, what they call I-Pass technology. Basically, it's supposed to be a geared hub motor, but also has a regenerative function. So if we were only going on this flat area out here, then the regenerative braking wouldn't get a chance to work. So if we go around the loop around the neighborhood here, we'll actually get some up and down hills associated into this. So rather than doing 2 long tests, I think one is really going to answer the question if a 50 to 80 mile range is realistic. I looked at the settings on the screen. There's a lot of adjustment there. That's one of the things I like. I guess I'll just go out there and say it. On the screen, the display, that's usually one of the ratings. I'm going to give them a 10 out of 10 on that one because, let's come around and take a look at this. You have, on a budget bike, you have a full color display that has quite a bit of adjustment. You can see I've got a full battery, we're at 100%. Trip is set to 0 miles. Basically, I went back into the settings. There's 3 settings for the pedal assist. That is adjustable, so you can change that from 0 to 3 to, I saw 1 to 3. I don't know why you wouldn't want a 0, but there was a 0 through 5. I think there was a 0 through 7. But you can also adjust those assist settings individually. So in other words, 50% is where number 1 is set at. So that should be 50% power. Number 2 is 75%, and number 3 is not quite 100%. They have it set at like 95%. So that's how it comes from the factory. So that's how I want to do this test. So number 2, once again, is at 75%. So what I'm going to do for this test is set it at 75%. So if 50 miles is throttle only and 80 miles is pedal assist, we are using 75% power. This is all just somewhat subjective, obviously, but there's always things that are subjective. My weight, the bike, how hard I'm actually pedaling, the terrain, all those things affect the range. But if that's anywhere in the ballpark, then I should go 60, 70 miles before, really about 65 is right in the middle of those two, before the battery dies. Now my experience tells me That's not gonna happen with this battery size, but that's what they market, that's what they advertise, so we're gonna do a test and find out. So let's go ahead and jump on the bike, go for a nice long ride, and then I can share some of my thoughts a little bit later. And let's get into once again, this is the Rattan Challenger. Mine says Challenge. I don't know if there's an R missing or if that's normal, but this is the bike. We're gonna go test it for real, see what happens. Okay, so I just had the time lapse on for the last 5, almost 6 miles, just so you could get an idea of what the area is like, what the hills are like. There's one hill that I went up and down that's really steep. It's hard to visualize. I might have to go back and see if I can figure out a way to get a measurement on that so you know what it's like. It's real short, but it's very steep. And then there's just kind of a decent hill coming down the other side. So I'm probably gonna try and limit that one from going up and down it too much, because I don't want it to drain the battery and, you know, skew the results too much. But I just want kind of an average up and down, mix of flats, mix of rolling hills ride. So while I'm doing this, I figured I'm at 6 miles. Right now it says 260 watts. Get my gloves back on here. 280 watts, 260, jumping around, doing 15.5 miles an hour. Relatively flat, just a hair uphill at the moment. And the battery level jumps around with the voltage. So right now it's reading 76% after 6 miles. And, oh, see, now I just bumped it. I'm trying to keep it in a pedal assist 2, like I said, the whole time. And I just bumped it to 3 on accident there. So now our slight downslope. So now we dropped the wattage down to around 130 or so, 140. That was only for a second. Okay, so while we're riding around, I figure I got plenty of time left. I can tell you about some of the other features of the bike. And just so you know how much I'm pedaling, it is rather chilly out today. I did keep the battery inside room temperature before I started to make sure a cold battery didn't throw off the results. While I've been riding, I rolled my sleeves up, I took my goggles off. I am wearing shorts because it's not warming up, but I'm warming up. So let's get back to the bike. I told you a little bit about the display. I like it because it's a color display. It's easy to read. Normally on bikes that are under $1,500, you don't get a nice color display. This one's well under that price point, and you do. So 10 out of 10 onto the display. It has some adjustments, not a ton, but some. And then it also has a USB port on it. And I haven't tested that. I'm assuming it works. But interestingly enough, you actually have 2 USB ports on this bike. The other one is not on the battery. It is also on the handlebars. So to make sure that my results here are as accurate as they can be, I have the mileage being tracked on the screen, and then I also have my phone on the handlebars over here using Strava, which is an iPhone and Android app for tracking cycling rides and other exercise. So it's using my phone's GPS. For comparison, it's saying 6.9 miles. Right now, the screen just tripped over to 6.7. So they're reasonably close. If anything, the display on the bike is reading a hair under what our actual mileage is, but it's very close. Stop sign. Okay, so other things about the bike that I should mention. Oh, the USB port, that's where I was going with that. So the USB port, there's a second one built onto the handlebars. There's actually, the bike comes with a cell phone holder, and just underneath it, it has a USB port that is hardwired into the bike's battery. So you can actually not only mount your phone up here, which I have done. It's a little bit tight on larger phones, but it fits. But right underneath it, there's a USB port, so you could plug your phone in and keep it charged up as you ride around. I haven't done that. I don't have it plugged in. but the option's there. So there's just kind of an extra little plus thing that you get that doesn't come with most bikes. You know, is it required? Of course not, but might be something that you like. Now the other components on the bike, keep in mind, $9.99 to $11.99, a couple different versions, but overall they're pretty good. You get some decent leather, kind of comfort style grips on here. The Shimano 7-speed shifter up on the handlebars is the same as what you find on most bikes in the $15, even up to $2,000 price point on e-bikes anyway. You've got mechanical disc brakes, which brakes is one of those things that is on my chart of things to score. I'd probably give these more like a 4. They work just fine. They adjusted them a little bit and they're happy, but they're definitely on the cheaper end. If there was one thing I would upgrade on this bike or consider upgrading soon, it would probably be the brakes. Like I said, they work, but they could be better. But the bike is cheaper than most. So not as good of a score on the brakes. The suspension fork, that kind of goes into the rest of the components, but it's not great. It's functional, but there's zero adjustment on it. It's a coil spring oil fork, and there's not even a preload on it. So pretty cheap on the fork they went with. But that's something you could always swap out. I don't see anything particularly proprietary on this bike other than the display and the controller. They're not name brand specific to this bike. It's the key display. Saunders uses these now, and there's some other bikes, so certainly something you can get, but you might not be able to tune this for more power or anything. So that's something definitely to be aware of, that if you buy one of these bikes, being a 350 watt bike, and you want more power out of it, you may not be able to do anything to get that. So pedal assist, it's a decent bike. Throttle only, it's not gonna give you enough power. So keep that in mind. If you want just a little bit of assist, this is the type of bike that's good for that. If you want to be able to throttle occasionally, make it really easy to get up hills, this is not the right bike for that. The pedals, they're the Wellgo, they're metal, they're not plastic, which is good. My feet have been gripping on them decently. They're a little bit small. I'd like to have bigger pedals, but not a deal breaker. They're working just fine. The tires, I'm not familiar with the specific model, but they feel good. So they feel like a good, just all around decent tire, good for a road, good for light trails. They feel relatively grippy, so happy with those. And you've got quick release on the front. You've got a hub motor, of course, on the back, so that's going to be bolted on, and that's their own custom patented motor, which is supposed to result in the long range. That we're finding out if those things are true or not. So it's kind of an interesting bike. It's a mix of things that are like over deliver and are really nice, like the display, to things that are so like the brakes and the suspension fork on the front. But I'm a little bit picky about some of those things too. I'd rather have no fork than a cheap fork. Well, a rigid fork. I mean, no fork. It kind of makes it a unicycle, and I don't know how to ride one of those. But so there you have it. There's kind of a general look at the components. Shimano tourney on the derailleur. It's a 7-speed setup. On the steep hill that's back here, the 7-speed is not enough. I'd like to have a lower gear. If the bike had more power, it wouldn't be a problem, but you kind of have to stand up and put some effort into it on those really steep hills. The cranks are by Pro Wheel, which you typically see on kind of budget bikes, $1,500 and under. I mean, I guess when it comes down to it, definitely the bike could cost a little more if it had more power, and it doesn't. So I think the price is right. I think you'd get a decent bike for the price point they're selling these at. There is a headlight, pretty standard to include a headlight on bikes, electric bikes these days. Tail light seems to be hit or miss. The headlight that's on here is controlled by the buttons up on the screen, or that control the screen, and it works, but it's pretty dim. So don't expect to be able to see at night with the headlight this thing comes with. Functional, definitely to be seen and not to see, if that makes sense. So now we're traveling uphill a little bit, still in pedal assist 2. We're at 8.3 miles according to the bike, 8.4 miles according to the GPS. So funny enough, they've actually gotten closer. 270, 250 watts. That's kind of the ballpark at 10 miles an hour up a slight hill, just to give you an idea of how much power we're using to go up a medium hill. The charger that comes with the battery is pretty standard, 2 amps. That means it takes you about 4 or 5 hours to get a full charge out of it. And the battery style, that's a plus because it's a high long, it's kind of an older style. There's a couple different versions out there, but they're still relatively common. They're easy to get. So replacement batteries for this would never be a problem. You wouldn't have to go to Rattan. You know, you certainly could, and they could probably get you a decent price based on the price of the bike, but it's not a proprietary battery as far as I know. It looks pretty simple. Now we're getting a little bit steeper. Got dogs barking, chasing us up and down the fence. Thankfully they'll stay in there. And now you can see I'm working. Bike's putting in 250 to 275 watts. Seems to be like the maximum for Assist 2. We're doing 8 miles an hour, and we're about to hit the backside of the steep hill that I talked about. So let's see how that goes. I'm gonna shift up. Here we go. And we're just gonna coast down because I am trying to maximize range. Now I'm not pedaling right now. The screen is showing 234 watts, 200 watts, 75, 30. It's going down. So I'm not pedaling. It was definitely using some regen to capture some energy right there. So it's kind of an interesting setup. I've been trying to figure it out as I ride it. It seems like pulling the brakes. I've never seen it show any wattage on the screen that is indicating regen, and it's not obvious. So it's not like there's a negative number or a red number as opposed to green. It looks exactly the same as wattage being used. But I certainly know that I wasn't using any power, and I felt like the bike was slowing down a little bit. Now, if you were going to, say, a stop sign at the bottom of that hill, that type of regen would make perfect sense. You're recapturing some energy up to the stop sign, and then that's energy you wouldn't have otherwise had. On the flip side, there wasn't a stop sign. It almost might be more efficient to coast and not use the regen to go further. So I'm a little torn about this bike and how it's set up, and if that's really adding anything. But that's how it works. I think what's happening is the bike has a limit. Hello. All right, so the bike has a limit set back in the settings I saw. I think it was 25 miles an hour. And I think that regen function is not kicking in until about 25. So maybe if you brought that setting down or up, you could adjust when that kicks on. I'll have to play with that a little bit later and see, but I don't want to mess up our results. Once again, This is the factory settings. This is how the bike comes. We're gonna leave it there. Try and keep that in assist 2. Every once in a while it seems like I must have bumped it because it was on 3 when I looked down, but I didn't put it there. And I had it on 1 another minute too. We're at 9.3 miles. This says 9.4, so they're pretty close. And battery says 64%. It's not looking very good for our 50 to 80 mile range, but let's keep going. I'm gonna turn this back on when we get to that nice steep hill so you can see how hard I gotta work to get up it. Okay, so I stopped for a second, I turned the camera around, and hopefully that puts some perspective into the steepest hill on this route. Like I said, it's very short, but very steep. Pedal assist 2, we're not gonna change it. I apologize for the sniffling. It's just a little bit coolish out. Okay, so there it is. So we gotta start shifting down to make it up this. I think this is gonna be the determining factor for the battery. If I come up this hill later sometime, it doesn't wanna make it. All right, so you can see I'm in the lowest gear, pedal assist 2, and working side by side a little bit to get up this hill because I'm cranking more than I'd like. And by that I mean I'm pedaling harder and slower. I'd rather pedal faster in a lower gear. Okay, now we made it over the top. Now we're gonna speed up. 12, 13, 14, 15 miles an hour, 16. Whew. And now we're coasting. I'm gonna stand up a little bit, stretch my legs. So it's not like I'm pushing the bike hard all the time to get the range down. Naturally, I'm using the motor to get up the hill, and now I'm coasting down to kind of extend our range. Battery jumped up to about 80%, so not pedaling, no motor power. It's reading a little higher, so it's just trying to guess based on battery voltage. We're still coasting downhill. Oh, and my camera moved at some point there. Let's get that back up. It's not helpful to be facing the ground. So, my thoughts on the bike overall so far, having ridden it around, I like it. It's reasonably light. I think it's around 50 pounds or so. Let's stop at the stop sign and be polite here. Okay, so the bike's reasonably light. It handles pretty well. The headset bearings, they're not the greatest quality. I can kind of feel them as I'm steering left and right. That's easy enough to fix, but definitely some cheap ball bearings of some sort in there. I think if I was to buy a bike like this, knowing that it's a 350 watt, it's only good for a pedal assist style and not a throttle only bike. It has a throttle, it's just not that useful. I would say you buy it, you change out some of the basics, like change the seat to one that's comfortable. That's kind of a no-brainer, happens on every bike. Change the brakes out, at least to some hydraulic calipers, if not some full hydraulics. Depends on the type of riding you want to do. I would say if you're going to do more trail riding, you change out the suspension fork because it probably would wear out. If you're just doing some light riding on roads or bike paths, I'd probably leave it alone. And basically what you'd end up with is a bike still well under the $1,500 price range that performs pretty well. Just don't expect it to be the best in really steep terrain. I would just go with a different bike for that kind of setup. And still, I'm having a hard time believing the range. So I gotta keep riding to find it out. That's okay, I like riding bikes. I'm just taking a quick little break. I want to kind of finish showing you everything about the bike. So I talked about some of the things before. There's that Highlong style battery, which is pretty standard. Here's the Wellgo pedals, which are metal, decently grippy. I would just like to see them a little bit bigger. Bigger platform is always better. Here's the brake calipers that I was talking about. So they're okay. They are stopping the bike just fine. Like I said, just they're a little bit on the cheap side. So functional, but if you were to ever replace them, I would just go ahead and put something nicer on there. Or if you got a lot of steep hills and things where you live, then it might be something you do relatively soon. The tires, CST Jet, that's the brand name that's on there. I have seen that brand on other bikes, not as common, but the tires themselves feel pretty good. So grippy, good tread, they roll pretty well. So happy with the tires. The headlight leaves a lot to be desired. I haven't been using it on. Let's go ahead and press the button right here. Okay, now the headlight's on. As you can see, that didn't do a whole lot. I know it's daytime, but it's overcast, and so that's it. You can see that it's on and off, but it's like, I mean, honestly, I can stare directly at the light, and it's not like blinding at all. I'm not saying stare at headlights to judge them. I'm just saying that I can. We're going to turn that back off to conserve our battery power, and here's the fork with, like I said, there's just no adjustment at all. It'd be nice to see something a little bit nicer, but for a bike this price, what can you expect? I mean, it's working just fine. Just one of the lower end components we find on here. Levers of the Wuxing brand. Honestly, they're kind of the same as the Tektro levers and others you see. No real complaints there. The seat is pretty average, and the kickstand is a little bit lighter duty, but it's a lighter bike, so I don't see any problems there. You can see it says iPass technology right on the frame there. That's for this motor, and I do feel it working. I just don't. I don't think we're gonna make it to the 50 to 80 miles. I'll show you on the screen in a second where we're at. Here's the 7-speed Shimano tourney derailleur and the freewheel we've got on there. The Pro Wheel cranks that I mentioned. So it's a nice looking bike. The paint is good. I feel like the quality of the build is decent. Make sure my battery didn't die there. Here's those leather grips I mentioned. The throttle is one of the cheaper thumb throttles that you can get, but it's functional. It's not that useful because the bike doesn't have that much power. So here's where we're at on our ride. It's a little bit cloudy and overcast. It might be hard to see the screen with that glare on there. But basically we're at 64%. When we're riding, it's dropping below 50%. And we're at 14.9 miles. It says pedal assist 3. I probably bumped that again. Trying to keep it on 2, like I said. And if I check my phone over here, it's saying we are at 15 miles exactly versus 14.9, so they're reading pretty close. An hour and 8 minutes. So you could see that I'm cruising along nice and easy, not pushing it, just right around 15 miles an hour. So that's where we're at. If anybody has any questions or comments on the bike, please make sure to comment below. And I want you to take a guess right now, because probably the next clip that I'm going to make is the end where I tell you how many miles I managed to get out of this thing. So do you think I'm going to make it to the 50 to 80 miles? If not, how far do you think I'm going to go? Leave a comment below. Here's what I'm going to do. I have lots of e-bikes to give away, and I am going to pick someone from the comments who guesses how many miles I went to win this bike. That's it. So if you guess how many miles I've gone, it doesn't matter if you're the closest, because it would be really hard to sort through all those comments and everything. But if you take a guess, then you're going to be entered to win. I'll reach out to you, I'll pick somebody. This is only going to be open to people in the US. Sorry, that's just where I'm limited to shipping bikes to for giveaways right now. But leave a comment and let's see how far we get. So once again, to review, we're at 64%, 14.9 miles, 15 according to my phone. It does drop below 50% while I'm riding. These are always a guess. The screens aren't perfectly accurate, so we're not gonna get 30 miles if it's at 50%. It never works out quite that way. It could be, but I don't know. So leave a comment, hit the like button on this video. Make sure to subscribe as well, because this isn't the only bike I'm gonna give away. I have some really awesome bikes coming after this one, so make sure to stay tuned. Let's go ride some more. So I have a little confession to make. I got thirsty and I went to the store to get a drink. But I did that on the bike, of course, because why not? So now that that's one problem solved, there's a second confession I have to make, which is just going up and down this road, I was getting a little bit bored. So riding the bike to the store, mix things up a little bit, and in order to speed up this process, I decided to change things up. So if you made a guess to the range in the comments below, now you get to go make a second guess. So here's the deal. I'm at 38% battery sitting still. When I'm riding, it drops down into the 20s, so you know where it's jumping around. I'm at 25 miles. So first half of the battery, I used pedal assist only on level 2, which is the middle setting, and I never used the throttle. Now for the second half of the battery, I'm using pedal assist 3 or the throttle. So just to err on the side of caution, let's say I'm using throttle for the second half of the battery as opposed to a medium pedal assist level for the first half. So 25 miles, now the battery says 40%. The range claimed by the manufacturer, once again, is the 50 miles on throttle, 80 miles with pedal assist. So take a second guess, and doesn't matter if you're close or not, by taking a guess, you'll be entered to win this bike. So here we go. We're gonna go ride around some more. I'm having fun. Who knows, maybe I'll stick to the road, maybe not. But I am gonna try and still stick to relatively level, just light hills, nothing too crazy, so I don't mix up the results too much. I have gotten the battery to cut off. The screen went from 30% down to 15 to 10 to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0 rather quickly. Now, interestingly enough, the bike kept going at 0% for maybe 1/8 of a mile or so uphill. So it really does a good job of ramping down and being somewhat accurate. Like I said, that last 30% went down pretty quickly though. So here's the deal. I'm sitting at 26.8 miles. And my Strava app says 27.1. So 26.8 over here, 27.1 over there. So 27 miles is the range we got out of the bike with the settings I was using. Now I gotta go up this hill right here and try something, because after the battery died, I noticed something a little bit weird. So I was sitting for a minute, the battery kind of had a chance to recuperate, so I'm on level assist 1, and it's actually giving me a little bit of power again. So here's the deal. I was going up this hill, I was on pedal assist 3 and using throttle, and eventually went down to 0, and then eventually what happened is it gave me an error code on the screen. Actually, the motor stopped working, and then it gave me an error code, and then a split second later it just went off completely. Makes sense, it's losing power, it's not going to work anymore. So I turned the screen off, turned it back on, and then I had it on assist 0 because the other levels weren't doing anything anymore. That's when I noticed something odd. So if I'm riding along and there's a very slight downhill right here, very slight, I'm gonna put the camera on the screen as best as I can. I'm coasting down, notice, coasting down at 8 miles an hour, and it says 0 watts. That all makes perfect sense. Now let's turn around. We start pedaling up the hill. We start using some power again. 130, 100 watts. So we're going a little easier on the battery. Makes sense that it's not going to cut off, even though it did a few minutes ago. Okay, so the battery's really low. Let's pedal along, assist 1, and now let's coast. 0 watts. Now, let's turn it down to assist 0. And remember before I said that you couldn't see the wattage regenerating on the screen, but now I can. So I've got a slight uphill, well, it's probably flat right here. Okay, so we're slowing down. I'm not pedaling, I'm not doing anything, not using the throttle. Now watch as we coast down this hill, assist 0. Let's look at the wattage on the screen. Now, and I can feel it slowing me down. So 136 watts. So that's definitely using some regen in the motor. So I am actually gaining some power back. Now, here's why I find this odd, is because I was getting to a certain speed down some of those steeper hills where I could feel the regen kick in, but I wasn't getting a number on the screen telling me that it was working. So I'm kind of second guessing myself as to, well, was it working? Was it really capturing energy? And I mean, I guess the answer is I don't really know. I think it was, but if you turn the assist level to 1 through 3, it does not give you a number as to how much power it's regenerating. But if you turn it to 0, it does. I don't know why it does that. So maybe somebody from Rattan can chime in and let us know how the bike is expected to work and what's going on with the screen there. But basically what it comes down to is maybe there's some setting or some way that can squeeze more range out of it, but I don't know. It doesn't make any sense why it would only show you that on 0, because it's an electric bike, and let's face it, you're not gonna ride it on 0. That's not what it's made for. But I can see that if the battery died, you could pedal just like a regular bike, and when you get to any downhill stretches, make sure it's on 0, because we know it's working then, and you'll capture a little bit of energy back, and maybe you could extend your range some more. But as it is, I'm gonna have to end this video here. Make sure to like, subscribe. The end result is the bike went 26 miles on a full charge. Not anywhere near the 50 to 80 that I expected or that was advertised. But what do I think of the bike? For the price, it's still a good buy. So don't expect to get 50 to 80 miles out of it, but still a good buy for the price. And I'll see you next time.